So today's a big day because this is the very first video I'm recording in my brand new studio. And this may not be exciting for you, but it is for me because I worked 5 years to get here, okay? And I promise, I will be doing a full studio tour in the near future. And if that's something you're very excited to see, make sure you subscribe so you won't miss it. In the meantime, I have a brand new 2021 Razer Blade 15 Advanced that I'm reviewing today. And I'll be straight up, it's not much of an update. It's very, very tiny iterative update compared to the previous model. But here's the thing. I think it's super important we review everything because you might be someone who's upgrading today, right? You might be using a laptop from 3 to 4 years ago, and today might be the day you're buying something new. Now, this is not a new design. It's still the same as the previous one. In fact, it's still using that black CNC milled aluminum. It still gets a ton of fingerprints when you touch the top of the lid. But here's the thing, they were able to make it slightly thinner. You're not gonna notice it unless you compare it to the previous model and put them side by side. There's still tons of ports, both on the left-hand side and the right. And if you remember a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, they added the SD card slot to the advanced model. Great stuff if you're a gamer and content creator. I find that a lot of people buying these gaming laptops also use it for other specific workflows. The keyboard is still exactly the same. It still sports that per key RGB that you've come to love or hate. It has that big touchpad, lots of space to move your fingers around. I still wish Razer would give you a bit more click, like I find it to be a bit too shallow, but very accurate when you're moving your fingers. Speakers on top for better sound output, and most importantly, no stickers. But the biggest upgrade, or update rather, to the advanced model is definitely the display. This is a QHD 240 Hertz display. I've said this before, I'm so happy gaming laptops are finally coming with QHD. The jump to 4K is really not necessary. QHD is the sweet spot, especially at 15 inches. Now this 240 Hertz panel is not only beautiful to look at, it also has great color accuracy. Like I was shocked when I ran my calibration tool on this. It's great. Like I could easily edit video on this, feel confident that the colors are gonna be exactly how I see them, and most importantly, have that high refresh rate if I want to game later on. Now, the beauty of this QHD panel is the text. You know, like it just looks so much more crisp than a 1080p one. As soon as you disconnect it from the charger, the display's refresh rate drops down to 60 Hertz in order to preserve battery life. It goes into optimist mode, or what NVIDIA likes to call dynamic display switching. This uses the integrated GPU instead of the dedicated GPU in order for you to get better battery life. Now, if you don't like this, for whatever reason, you can go into the NVIDIA control panel and force it to use the dedicated GPU and go back up to 240 Hertz. Just know if you do that on battery, your battery will drain much quicker. So performance is probably the smallest update. Like it's still using the i7-10875H that the previous 2020 model had. It has more RAM now, 32 gigabytes, and of course a bigger NVMe SSD at 1 terabyte instead of 512 like you got on the previous model. CPU performance is going to feel the same. It doesn't matter if you're running Cinebench or if you're compiling Mozilla Firefox, you're not gonna see a CPU update. The one area that is faster is the GPU. Like this RTX 3080 inside of here is technically faster than last year's RTX 2080 Super Max Q, but it still pales in comparison to the competition. Like this GPU is only boosting up to 100 watts. Razer just doesn't have a lot of thermal headroom in here to put in a more beefier version of the RTX 3080. The good news is though, every 1080p game you run at this, doesn't matter how new it is, it completely does a fantastic job. QHD gaming is viable, but just don't expect crazy frame rates that match the high refresh rate display on this thing. Which brings me to heat. If you're running this thing in balanced mode, you're not gonna see the CPU surpass 45 watts. Temperatures will be nice and conservative, around 80 to 85 degrees Celsius, but Razer has opened up their thermals a little more, meaning you can go into the Synapse settings and boost the CPU all the way up, boost the GPU all the way up, and with that, the CPU will spike up to 65 watts, but with that comes a lot of heat. I'd rather them do this because it gives you the user the control over the type of performance that your laptop can live up to. If you don't like it, you can put it back in balance mode, but if you really want to push this thing, at least you have the option. The other thing I like is the fan noise. Like this is hitting 55 decibels, which is still loud. But if you compare this to other gaming laptops, those ones are hitting around 60, so a little bit better on your ears. So internally, most stuff is the same. Vapor chamber cooler, 80 watt-hour battery, decent battery life for a gaming laptop, but don't expect to get through the entire day. 2 slots for your RAM, upgradable to 64, swappable Wi-Fi 6 card, 1 pre-installed NVMe SSD with pretty good read and write speeds, but the newest addition is the ability to add a second one. The second one slots in right here, goes across the top, and there's already a spot to screw it in place if you ever want to upgrade in the future. So here's the thing. If you're strictly gaming, I feel like you should just get the Razer Blade 15 base model. The 3070 is comparable to last year's 2080 Super Max Q, and you're gonna save some nice money. If you're someone who's gaming mostly, but doing a little bit of content creation, see if you can get a 2020 Razer Blade 15 Advanced. You'll get those 2 extra cores. You'll have the exact same performance as the 2021 Razer Blade 15 base model. And again, you're gonna save some money. I feel like the only reason to buy the 2021 Advanced model is if you want that QHD display. Someone who's like stuck in the middle. They're doing video production, but also gaming. Or they just really want that crispy text in Windows, but don't really care that they're still gaming at 1080p. Because I feel like if you really want to take advantage of this 240 Hertz display, you're probably still gonna be gaming at 1080p. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next one.